To Wonderful Beauty, your new K-pop haven.
We're Aiden and TJ, just your friendly second and third generation Nuna and Hyung, here to discuss random K-pop related topics.
With over 2 decades of friendship between us, we're inviting you on a nostalgic journey through the evolution of K-pop, from the iconic groups of the past to the hot stars of today. We'll share our unfiltered opinions, hilarious anecdotes, and insider knowledge.
So grab your favorite snacks, hit play, and let's dive into the world of K-pop together.
All right, this is it. The rabbit hole of Ateez. Totally came, I guess, left field for both of us, in a sense.
Yeah, definitely. It left field. I don't know. What's more dramatic than that, really? Because, yeah, I don't know what's more dramatic than left field. I guess, like Miley Cyrus said, they came in like a wrecking ball.
Oh no, not the Miley Cyrus. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I feel like we both heard of Ateez. I knew a little bit of them back then. Because I remember this is way before, I think this is like the beginning stages of you really getting into K-pop at the time.
Yeah.
You were mentioning, I think I mentioned Ateez once in passing for some odd reason. And you're like, oh yeah, there's a hot guy in there. And I'm like, who's the hot guy? And you're like, everyone knows it's the hot guy.
You basically just described my entire journey with boy groups in general.
There's one hot guy and I'm in.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I went from being a girl group stan to a boy group stan with very few girl groups left. So,
Yeah.
Hey, if it works, it works.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I will have to say some of these girl groups are so hard to get into these days. It's like you saying that you don't like that bubblegum poppy songs usually. I think the most exception you got into would be Twice, right? Because Twice does have really poppy songs.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, like Red Velvet, Dreamcatcher, you're like, oh yeah, they're different. There's some poppy songs, but it's not a lot of it. But it seems like lately these days, there's a lot of poppy songs. So
I agree with that, because especially with like the big groups like Stacy and Viviz, which is of course kind of funny saying considering I was a G-Friend stan. But even G-Friend sound, I wouldn't really say was really bubblegum.
No, it's not. They have their own special sound to them that makes it not as bubblegum pop type of feel. It is a beat, but it's not that generic K-pop girl group sound, is what I would say.
Yeah. It's different from what we get from Le Sserafim, Nimix,
Blackpink even. They have that own feel to it.
Correct. You could tell how little girl groups I listen to now, because after Nimix, I was like, wait, who else is there?
Oh no. There's ITZY. There's
man, don't get me started on ITZY, because that could be an entire episode on its own. The whole
Oh no.
I mean, for those who are listening, I'm not gonna sit here and bash on ITZY. I am a stan, but I do feel like JYP kind of dropped them, because what they were beforehand is completely different to what they sound like now.
I definitely agree with that. And also, when it comes down to it, just like TJ mentioned, companies promoting their girl groups, if they're not as successful, it seems like they don't put as much effort into it anymore.
Yeah.
So if you're compared to like Twice and ITZY, obviously Twice is much more popular. They bring in the money for JYP. They get better songs, I guess. Whereas ITZY, they kind of got the bad end of the stick. And also, by the way, JYP, if you're listening, do something with Feature. I'm waiting for Feature, man.
I knew that was going to come up. I was going to suggest something about Vicha, but I was like, no, watch. Anna's going to go on right here in about 5, 4. Yeah, there she goes.
I'm going to go ham. You don't understand my love for Vicha. Okay, give these poor girls some... give them songs. Give them something to do. Oh my gosh. All right, but back to the main reason of this episode, Ateez.
We've mentioned it a couple of times. especially in our KCON episode, that both of us have had a interesting relationship as far as how we ended up in this rabbit hole. But before we get into all that, let's do how we always start these videos. Let's go back to the beginning, give our listeners a little bit of history, and then I will tell you guys my crazy story and Anne's, which is not as entertaining, but we'll get there still. All right, so Ateez is an 8-member South Korean boy group under KQ Entertainment. They were formed from the survival show KQ First Time. The show saw various trainees competing in singing, dancing, and rap challenges to assess their skills and potential. The finalists who won the show are Sunghwa, vocalist, rapper, and visual; Hungjun, captain, which is their version of the leader;
yes,
main rapper, vocalist, and center; Yoonho, main dancer and vocalist; Yosang, vocalist, rapper, and visual; San, the lead dancer, lead vocalist, and my bias; Mingi, main dancer and main rapper, and bias; Wooyoung, main dancer and vocalist, and then Jungho, main vocalist, Magne, and then my bias wrecker.
Nice.
I'll go first because I technically got into Ateez before Anne did. One of the very few times that I discovered somebody beforehand.
Yeah, it was usually me introducing you to be like, how about this group? How about this group? And you're like either yes or no.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's more of those memes of where like Anne's forehead's against yours. I'm like, what do you want? What do you like? Is this it? Is that it?
Try to find that sweet spot, but it never works out.
Yep. Which, as my K-pop Sifu, clearly she's done a great job because here we are. So.
Oh, well. It's a long journey.
It really is. We're talking, 12 years at this point?
Yeah, I think so. And then some of them are more hilarious. Like the anecdote we keep bringing up would be the 17 one. That's a hilarious journey itself on its own.
Yeah. Which we'll talk about that in an upcoming episode since 17 is during their tour and we're both going to be visiting. But let's get back on Ateez because you know me, I like to go on a good rant and I'll forget exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, let's stop getting off tangent. It's a bad trait of us, but
it really is. Wait till if you guys ever see us in person or we do a live, you'll see exactly how bad we are.
Oh yeah.
So my adventure with Ateez actually started from an outside source. Back in summer of 2021, there was a music video released called The Taste of Korea, or Summer Taste here in America. The music video is a wild collaboration between Ateez members Yoonho and Hungjun, Monsta X, which is Shonu, Hyungwon, and I.M, BB Girls, formerly known as Brave Girls, members Yuna and Yoojung. If I mispronounce that, I'm so sorry. Soloist Rain, and then Pepsi. Yeah.
Pepsi.
Apparently this is an ongoing project between Starship Entertainment and Pepsi that goes all the way back to 2019. And the weird thing I found out while doing research is that most of the time when they do these collaborations, it has nothing to do with Starship's own artist.
Oh, okay.
As you can tell from this list, the only people who are under Starship is Monsta X.
Right.
But they had things with members of VIX, Icon. I think now the last 2 years they've done, I think IVE has taken over just to make it simpler.
Yeah.
This is also not Monsta X's first time doing a collaboration like this. They did one, I think it was a Japanese collaboration for Pepsi as well. So what exactly is Taste of Korea? Well, it's the biggest product placement ad for Pepsi that you can imagine. So we're talking like, when you watch your Korean dramas and at the end it always has the little sparkle filter and then it's like Subway. That running joke on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
Take that and multiply it by about 10,000.
Oh, no.
If you don't believe me, well, guess I actually brought the video so you can see.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Gonna do my baby, yeah. 모두가 긴장해야만 해. 거침없이 달려야 해. 네 가슴 속을 파고들어. Oh yeah, oh yeah. 진짜가 나타났어, that's me. 자신 있게 소리쳐봐. 시동 걸어, boom, boom. 준비됐어, taste of Korea. Yeah. setting party We go hard 무식이 sharing 터져버릴 것 같은 느낌 I like it 주체할 수 없는 기분에 난 날아가 PSI이지 못할 이 순간 till I die It's my taste 즐겨볼까 Don't be afraid 불태워볼까 멋진 세상에 뛰어들어봐 Everywhere everyday 상쾌하게 유쾌하게
Right, so that was Taste of Korea.
That's a huge product placement of just
Pepsi ad.
it's just a huge ad for Pepsi, and they made like a whole song out of it.
Whole song. Even had Hongjoon spell out Pepsi just in case you lived under a rock and you didn't know how to spell Pepsi.
No, it's for the Koreans to know how to spell Pepsi.
You've got a point.
I'm just saying.
These kind of things are wild because, like, I think it was last year, Jew Honey did one with Mountain Dew.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it was him and Jay Park, I think. I think I'm completely wrong on that. Oh, no, it was a guy named Gecko and a guy named Big Naughty. Gecko, Big Naughty, and Jew Honey.
Okay.
I don't know. I only recognize Jew Honey from that list, so...
Gecko and Big Naughty are really big in the hip hop scene. They're really good rappers. But put Jew Honey in there's kind of funny because you're like it's like the big name, and you got like a K-pop star. You're just like, what?
You can't ever say that we didn't teach you anything here at Wonderful Beauty.
I'm just saying.
So as y'all may know, I'm already a really massive fan of Monsta X. Top ultimate group along with Red Velvet. You can actually see my Monsta X No Limit Tour banner right here that we got at Fort Worth at Dickies Arena.
Woo!
Yeah. Shout out to Dickies Arena. Please sponsor us.
I wish.
Right? Shoot. So at that time, I was also really craving a lot of Shodu content because he had just had surgery for retinal detachment. He had it twice, actually. And this was also the time that Monsta X released One of a Kind and their song Gambler. And while he was in the song, the music video, he didn't do any sort of promotions with the group, kind of like with S-Coops and God of Music.
Right.
Where like he was in the video for a split second, but because he was literally physically unable to do anything, he was not doing promotions. I already knew who Rain was. Okay. To this day, I kind of still don't really know who Rain is. I know that he's the hot older guy from the second generation. But at that time, I really only knew him as the Ninja Assassin guy, and that he was a super big deal for Asian representation because Anne was so excited for that movie when it came out.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Ateez and BB Girls were new artists to me though, so I figured I'd give them a try. That's something I always try to do. I'm like, oh, if I'm gonna sit here and binge the same thing over and over again, let me like dip my toe into that fandom. BB Girls, we didn't really click. To this day, I couldn't tell you a single one of their songs. They pop up every now and then when I'm listening to music, but I usually skip them. Ateez, though, I kind of instantly fell into them. But that's all kind of a blur because, you know, we were dealing with the pandemic at the time.
That's right, yeah.
And I think DFW, just like San Antonio, completely shut down for like 2 months. So we here in San Antonio, we were kind of just starting to get back to normalcy. Restaurants were starting to open up, public transit, stuff like that. And I just remember listening to that Pepsi song over and over and over again because it was the new thing. My first Ateez comeback was Eternal Sunshine. I remember the song being really catchy, and for some reason, I remember Mingy's Pufferfest. I don't know why. I don't remember what anyone else looks like in that video. Like, if I go and watch it now, it's going to be like a brand new video to me.
Oh my gosh.
But why Mingy's puffer jacket, and I think he wore a bucket hat too, is such a vivid memory for me is I don't know why. Especially because he's not my bias, he's Anne's bias. So you think I would remember Son or Jungho in that video, but no, I don't remember anyone else in that video.
It must have stood out a lot, like maybe the colors of it, or
I'm pretty sure it was black.
Oh, then what the heck?
I don't know. My brain works in weird ways. From there, I had a lot of late nights because, as Ann knows, I don't sleep like a normal person does. So I tend to fall down a lot of rabbit holes as far as YouTube go.
Right.
And I stumbled across a video of Hongjoon and Stray Kids' Bangchan discussing their problem children. I don't remember who Hongjoon said was his. I think it was Yoseng or Yunho, but I'm not 100% sure. Please, 18, don't come for me. But I know that Bangchan mentioned that it was Changbin. And from there, I found the complete video of them all trying to go to sleep, and Changbin being all upset because he's hungry, Felix being mad at him because he's always hungry. Which, funnily enough, one of the only phrases I know in Korean are "jejupa." And then them literally spending the whole time cooking in the kitchen at like 3 a.m. and Bang Chan having to use reverse psychology to get Changbin to actually help them.
Oh my god.
So from that turned into my obsession with Stray Kids, and then Ateez kind of got dropped off. At the same time, a lot of the music that was coming out I wasn't super fond of. Now I can listen to Gorilla and Cyberpunk without skipping them. Zia, still kind of on the fence about that one. And then I've kind of discovered recently, it wasn't with the last two comebacks, it was with the B2uty album, that whoever produces their music, I don't know a lot of music producers, I just know the guy that helps with 17 and then Teddy, of course. He has this group of amazing vocalists, but he tends to use auto-tune a lot in the songs.
Right,
and
yeah.
And I don't know what it is, because Ateez is all fantastic vocalist, especially Jungho. He's known for being one of the top vocalists in K-pop.
Right.
But you can hear the electronical sounds, especially in like really long notes, where I don't know if the person, I don't know if it's a guy or girl who helped do these songs, got tired of having to do retakes. So they just said, just let the note out and we'll fix it. And so that's one of the reasons I kind of was like, this is really not my thing anymore. Around this time is also when you were lucky enough to get tickets to actually go see them in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
I just remember being like, okay, cool, not my thing. To this day, I mean, we're talking 4 years later from when I discovered them. I don't know exactly what caused me to turn so sour towards Ateez. Not on the same level, of course, as I am with Blackpink and BTS.
Right.
They just were someone I didn't particularly care about. I know that at one point there was a lot of negative discourse on Twitter from 18s towards Stays, and that kind of soured it a bit, but I don't think that's what caused it. Because, anyone who knows Anne and I personally knows that an entire fandom can turn us away from a group. Right. Especially when they're acting cuckoo crazy and their threats and stuff like that. But that's neither here nor there. This last year really is what reigniting my passion for the group. Right. I actually started with their Japanese albums, Dreamers. And then it was Rocky Boxer version off of their next Japanese album. But I didn't actually fall into the 18 fandom again until B2uty came out. Yeah. Which, if you guys haven't heard B2uty, which is highly unlikely because it's on TikTok and Instagram everywhere, definitely go listen to it. My favorite thing about it is 18's finding out that it's a dirty song and like freaking out about it. It's like, how did you not know that? But that's when TikTok challenges were really blowing up. And so every time in the morning when I ride the bus, I sometimes just go on Instagram, I hit the reel button and just scroll. And so every other song was B2uty. And I was just like, okay, let me listen to it. And from there, it was like, okay, B2uty's good, but this is not it. And then Crazy Forum came out, and I was like, damn it, this is good. But no, I'm not doing this. I don't have time for this. My brain already has too many groups in it.
I don't have time for this.
Just for a side note, a little tangent on the side, and Anne can verify this.
Okay.
When I first got into K-pop, around the time when I got into Monsta X, I straight up told her, look, my brain has enough space for 5 groups.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And that's it, 5. I get 5. And at the time, it was Monsta X, Red Velvet, I think Blackpink
Yeah.
twice,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I just discovered SF9.
Yes,
5.
I think that's
That was
right.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, look, I'm old. My brain runs on megabytes. Can't do this anymore. And can also verify that did not last very long.
It did not, no. You were like, I need to drop one of the groups on my list for a new group. And I was like, no, look at me. I'm doing fine with 20.
Exactly. So I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not getting back into Ateez. I'll just be a casual listener.
Mm-hmm.
And then, damn it. God dang it, Bobby.
God damn it.
Golden Hour Part 1 came out, and
ooh,
here we are.
Here we are.
So, for those who don't know, we may have mentioned it in our first episode, but Anne and I are both technically musicians. We did orchestra throughout all of our school career. I actually majored in music originally when I went to college.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I've always loved about music is a good fusion.
Yes.
We get it a lot here in Texas because, of course, we have the Tejano scene, we have Selena, and all that stuff. So I just really like it when whether it's a domestic or international artist borrows and incorporates sounds from other cultures.
Mm-hmm.
So good examples are Aya by Mamamoo. Got 7 did a completely Spanish version of Lullaby, I think it was. Also La Mio by SF9, and then the entire not work album, Golden Hour Part 1 album had such a Latin inspiration to it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I know for you, Work was like your top track, and for me, Blind was my top track.
Yeah, it
and
is.
Both of them are very heavily Latin inspired. Like I love the memes that came out, and I'm usually not a big meme guy of A-Teeny Sneak About Blind, is that their main instrument that you hear in there, besides the bass drum, is an accordion.
Oh yeah.
And they somehow made the accordion really cool.
Which is hard to do.
Very, very hard to do. Especially when, for both of us, our cultures, neither one of the musics really incorporate the accordion into their music.
Right, exactly.
But even then, when that was a thing, because I remember you were so lucky to go to the Hello 82 pop-up in Dallas. And I was like, okay, I'm still going to be a casual listener, whatever. But it wasn't until we hit LA, and we mentioned this in our KCON episode, that I realized how deep in this damn hole that I was. Because I remember getting back to your aunt and uncle's house, and I put all of the stuff on the bed to take a picture to post on my Instagram shop. And I was like, wait a second. Why is every single thing except for my 2 KCON Lawoon things Ateez related?
Yeah, it really was, though.
And I remember I was like, I took a picture and it was like photo cards, albums, things like that. And it was like, wait a second. How did I spend 6? Yeah, we spent 6 hours at a convention and walked out with only Ateez stuff.
Which, you even got the light stick there too. You got the Ateez
my
light
wonderful
stick.
little light stick here, provided to me by K-Pop Nation. Used, great, $30. And it didn't even stop there, because one of the shops that we absolutely had to go to while we were there was the Hello 82 storefront.
Right.
Which, shout out to Hello 82. You guys are absolutely amazing with your prices and all of the collaborations you do. We actually specifically went there to get our little jerseys that we have on.
Yes, that's right.
These are the Towards the Light jerseys. Unfortunately, they were sold out when we got there. We were very, very sad.
Yeah, all the concert merch was sold out, though. They were empty, sold out.
Yeah, granted, we went while they were still actually on tour. So we were very late to the party, but we were both lucky enough to get our Annie Miles, I think they're called.
Ateez. I don't know, man.
Something like that, but yay. So to circle back, actually, while we're talking about KCON, I know that we were hoping that Ateez would perform because they've performed multiple times since debut.
Right.
And other than Highlight for you specifically, because, you know, I'm still getting into that.
Right.
Both of us were really, really hoping for that Stray Kids and Ateez would perform because they've kind of been the main act since I think like 2018 or so.
Something like that.
And then we were absolutely devastated when it was announced that, like, no, we're actually going to go on tour instead of doing KCON.
And I was like, maybe there's hope. Maybe there's hope.
Oh, yeah. I remember you and I sitting down and doing the math because there was a 3-day break between, I think it was Phoenix and Arlington.
I think so, yes.
And we hadn't gotten the lineup or schedule for KCON yet. So we're like, oh, maybe they'll come in then. Yes, maybe. Which, of course, didn't work out.
Right.
But it's kind of funny to think now that we were crazy enough to be like, well, what if we decided instead of going from LA to Oakland, we go from LA back to Arlington. I'll stay with my mom. You go back to your house. We'll go see Ateez. And then we'll fly back to Oakland to go see IU. And we legitimately looked up the flights and then we're like, holy hell. That's just $400 just to go back to Arlington.
Yeah, and at that point, I'm just like, we already spent so much on, just tickets to LA, and then we bought the KCON tickets, and we're like, okay, we're gonna set this much aside for food and merch and whatever else. I'm just like, now it's not worth it.
Yeah, because I think we both looked at our budgets. We were like, oh, that's half of our budget. No.
It would just be us in LA staying at my aunt-in-law's place and just eating ramen.
Yeah, and not even the good stuff like the American cup ramen.
Oh, the Maruchan ramen.
Well. But really, I think the testament to how Ateez just came in and destroyed everyone is the fact that they somehow dethroned 17 on my YouTube music recap for the months of June through August.
That is funny.
17 has actually occupied that spot, which is one of Anne's favorite things to make fun of me about. Has occupied the top spot since April of 2023 when Super came out.
Yes.
Every single month it has been. It's usually Super that's at the top of the list, but I think last time it was God of Music and Rock With You. But every single month for almost a year and a half, 17 was at the top. And then out of nowhere, Here Comes Blind by Ateez and completely knocked them off the number 1 spot.
Ateez said, look at us. Look what we can do.
Right. So that's my journey. Real lot of ups and downs. Weird to think of where I've ended up and the fact that we have officially decided we will do Ateez next time. I need to start saving up after 17.
Right.
I guess technically after Wonho, but
oh yeah, that's right. We are going to see Wonho.
Yeah. Yes. So anyways, yeah, that's my journey as far as Ateez goes. A lot of ups and downs. It's kind of fun to kind of go back full circle now because even though I knew them beforehand, my brain had kind of like deleted them. Right. And so I'm getting to go back and listen to a lot of the songs that I had heard before, but it's almost like hearing them for the first time again.
Yeah, see them in the new light. Yeah,
really. That's really kind of what it is. And we both agreed we're definitely going to go see them next time. We have to.
Yes, definitely.
Especially after hearing Annie's stories, which I'm not going to spoil that story. I'll let you talk about it. But yeah, I'm part of the 18 fandom now. I hope you guys are happy that I'm here and very accepting. Hopefully it stays this way and I don't drop them off again and then they come out with one really good album. I'm like, I'm not doing this a third time.
I'm not doing this again. Not again.
Anyways, Anne, why don't you tell us about your journey with Ateez?
Yeah, so like TJ said, he obviously knew about Ateez before I did. I've kind of told myself once we hit the like midway between 3rd to 4th gen that I will not get into new groups.
Right.
Real life, it happens, right? I was still listening to K-pop, but it's not where I'm getting to these new groups. I think at the time, I would say the latest new group I fully got into would be like, I want to say maybe like it would be Stray Kids, my bad. It would be Stray Kids. Because it happened over COVID, right? And that iconic God's Menu thing came up with Felix doing his rap break type thing. It went all over TikTok, so that's how I got into them. But again, I keep saying, like, I will not get into like buying their albums. I will not know like members, that sort of thing. Again, I'm old. I only got so much space, even though I said to TJ at the time I have 20 groups in my mind.
Let this be a lesson to y'all that when your hype person is hyping you up, they're usually struggling with the exact same thing behind your back. And let me just tell you, everyone needs an Ann in their life. Let me tell you that right now. I'm going to break off for a second. And the reason she's saying no is because I'm about to put her ass on blast. While Ann is the docile member of our friend group, she's the enabler of our friend group.
Yes.
So the number of times that I've messaged her and be like, ooh, Sub K-Shop is selling the show new animal plush. I kind of really want it. She goes, why are you bothering to ask me? You know I'm going to tell you to get it.
Pretty much. I'm like, you have monies? This is your alt bias? Go for it.
The funny thing is usually I don't have money, but she's like, you can Klarna it. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine. You can budget it. That's like 2 work days. You got this.
Right. So you all need and don't need an Ann in your life because she's the greatest hype woman ever, but she's usually struggling with the same thing, but she will drain your bank account.
I will. In the best way possible, but please do budget though. You gotta be responsible. Pay your bills. Then you can spoil yourself. Treat yourself. But yeah, so like I said, can't get into new groups in general. And then like I believe BTS at the time, they announced them going to the military service. So I was like, okay, maybe this is a good kind of like stopping point. I can listen to new songs, but I will not get into them where I start standing them, buy their albums, collect photo cards, all these things, right? I'm just going to enjoy life that I was in right now and, talk about K-pop with TJ, of course, and then listen to new music. Whatever my kiddo wants, I will enable that. That sounds bad. No, wait. But yeah.
So in essence, you told yourself the lie that we've all told ourselves of, I'm just going to listen, I'm not going to touch.
Yeah, pretty much. That's all it is. And again, with Ateez, I don't know them that well. I only know in passing, right? I know Say the Name and Wonderland because that was their big hits at the time, but it's not so much where I can get super into it.
Right.
It's like TJ said, like at the time we're not into it, but if we go back and listen to it now, we're like, wow, that's pretty good. It's like listening to it for the first time. You're like, new you see them in a new light and all this other things, and I also remember seeing them at the time. They were in Jesse's Show to View. It's so hard to say with all that S's, but pretty much this is like Jesse's interview talk show type thing where she interviews all these K-pop idols at the time that are in promotion or whatever. And the most iconic one is, I'm pretty sure everyone has seen this meme / clip of it, but their concept for their intro was they're the statues at the museum because, they're all handsome looking. They're very good looking, right? And they're like in these awkward poses kind of. And then Jessie will go up to them and they're all wearing name tags and she will touch their name tag and they would just like do like a little bit to introduce themselves, that sort of thing. But obviously it's chaos, right? It's Jessie and of course Ateez, but I didn't know Ateez at the time. It's just this full on chaos. So she was kind of like, you need to introduce yourself better. You should have done this, just fun, criticizing type thing. And then Minky, Minky was like, oh, you should click her. But she doesn't have a name tag or anything. But he pointed to like, where her chest is, and then she was like, click on what? And Ateez like, no, and you're like punching Minky down to the ground like, you should respect your son, babe. I love that clip so much, and I was like, well, they're funny boys because I mean, again, Jessie, she got some good stuff, but yeah. And then so then this is when Kingdom came out, the Legendary War. It had what, Stray Kids, B2B, it had Icon, and of course Ateez and some other groups I can't think of at the time, but that's okay.
SF9 was there. Everybody forgets SF9.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. I'm not into SF9, which will be an episode of its own as well. It will be a blind watch for me to get into SF9, which TJ has been pushing that for a good while.
Note the eye twitching.
Also, side note to mention about SF9. I think this is around the time that my wedding month was happening. So this is back in December 2022. SF9 was touring. I remember that because my dad said I had family from Taiwan in at the time. So I was hosting them as well. I was taking them around to the DFW area to show them, you know, what Texas/America is like, that sort of thing. And my dad was saying how, like, oh, you should take them to see a K-pop concert. And I was like, I don't think there's any K-pop concerts happening because I wasn't thinking on top of my head like the big names. And then my dad did say there's this group called SF9. I'm like, Dad, how do you know about SF9? And then I was like, okay, maybe I can. But then it was the same day as the Mavericks game. And my fiance/husband was really into this Mavericks game, and I said that I was going to take them to a Mavericks game because they'd never seen a basketball game, which I guess in Taiwan they do have like, you know, arenas and stadiums for their ball games, but it's not at this big grand of a scale because the Dallas Mavericks is playing currently in the American Airlines Center. When they show me photos of what it looks like for their arena for basketball games compared to this, it's like 10 times bigger. So to them, it's like it's a great experience for them. They highly enjoyed it. They got to be on the Jumbotron too, which was great. So that was really cool. But that's besides the point. The fact that my dad knew about SF9, I was like, wait, I could go. No, Mavericks game.
And let me preface by stating, one, I almost divorced this woman after she said, oh, I could have gone, but I decided not to. And also, the reason your dad probably knows about them, and as I've mentioned before, is they actually have a really big following in Taiwan.
That is true. Yes, they do. They do.
They actually have released, I think, 2 of their albums in Taiwan in Taiwanese Chinese.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. Yeah, but again, that was really funny how my dad knew about SF9. But yeah, going back to the Kingdom Legendary War, so yeah, I was mainly watching it for B2B and of course Stray Kids at the time, but I do also remember how Eunkwon, Junho, which of course I didn't know at the time, and Summing, I believe, they did a beautiful cover to IU's love poem. And of course, I'm watching this for Eunkwon. He is my bias in B2B, but to see someone that I don't know with the greatest like vocal range you could ever hear, it's so amazing. I'm just like, oh, this kid's pretty good, you know? So I mean, I'm hooked.
누구를 위해 누군가 기도하고 있나 봐 숨죽여 쓴 사랑 시가 낮게 들리는 듯해 너에게로 선명히 날아가 늦지 않게 자리에 닿기를 I'll be there 홀로 걷는 너의 뒤에 Singing till the end 그치지 않을 이 노래 아주 잠시만 귀 기울여봐 유난히 밤길을 걷는 널 위해 널 위해 부를게 yeah. 또 한 번 너의 세상에 별이 지고 있나 봐 숨죽여 삼킨 눈물이 여기 흐르는 듯해 할 말을 잃어 고요한 마음에 기억처럼 들려오는 목소리 I'll be there 홀로 걷는 너의 뒤에 Sing till the end 그치지 않을 이 노래 아주 혼자란 숨을 쉬어봐 소리내오는 법을 잊은 널 위해 부를게 부를게 널 위해 노래 부를게 Here I am 지켜봐 나를 난 절대 Singing till the end 멈추지 않아 이 노래 고개를 들어 바라본 그곳에 있을게
Oh, so good. So good.
So good.
So moving.
And keep in mind that these are guys from 3 separate groups.
Oh yeah, definitely. And for them to harmonize, so this is what I liked about it, that John Ho at the time, of course I didn't know his name, right? Stood out at the time, was that you notice that his earpiece is actually out. A lot of this is what I kind of deem as their level of professionalism and how aware they are with their vocals, is that they take their earpiece out so they can listen to themselves better rather than listening to the backtrack that's in their ear. So for John Ho to have that out and me not knowing anything about him, I assume he has that level of professionalism with his vocals, you know, which is very great. And the fact that he keeps turning back to look at Eun Kwan when they're harmonizing, that itself is really, really cool.
Yeah, and let's also keep in mind that Jung Ho is very young.
Oh yeah, he's so young.
He's only 24 years old, and he's got the professionalism that you would see out of people like, a really good example I would use here for an American thing would be Idina Menzel.
Mm-hmm.
When she collaborated with all the Elsas from all the Frozens.
Yes.
I think it was at the Grammys, I think.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And they did that one song, and you watch Idina literally pull her mic away because she knows she's about to hit a really high note and she needs to belt, and she doesn't want to it to interfere with the audience's ears.
Right, yeah.
But we're also talking about a woman who's been in the industry for 20 plus years versus Jung Ho, who is 24 years old, which also at the time of recording, happy birthday, Jung Ho.
Yeah.
And he, I believe, from what I understand, he was 17 years old when Ateez, when they recorded their first music video. He was 18 when it debuted, but he was 17 when they recorded it.
So he was a baby.
Yes.
Oh.
So it's really cool because that's one thing I like about our discussions, is because we have that musical background, is that you're literally mentioning techniques and things like that. And it's even cooler to look into this because, again, the fact that Jung-ho is only 24. And I guess at the time of recording, he would, I mean, of that recording, he would have been like 20.
I think so, because I believe this happened around, it has to be around COVID-ish time, I think. Not full hardcore COVID. A little bit
Oh,
after.
yeah, so he was 20. I actually have the Kingdom Legendary War wiki open.
Okay.
Because he hadn't had his 21st birthday yet by the time that it had come out.
Still a baby with that vocals. Yeah. But I did learn, once I fell more and more into the Ateez rabbit hole and learning, a little bit more history about them and everything. I've learned what they do as part of their training process is that they would run on treadmills, I think, while singing at the same time. Then that's why they have one of the most stable vocals in the K-pop industry right now. So think about it. You're running at, let's say, 5 miles per hour, right? The level 5 on the treadmill. You're running and you're belting out songs, right? Whatever they were training with at the time. And you had to stabilize your voice and running. So you're doing the breathing technique at the same time. So, and because of that training, I remember Songhwa went to some talk show because this guy was like, how do you guys hit those notes, all these things while dancing, because their choreography is so tough at the same time. And he was like, oh yeah, this is our training technique right here. So I was like, holy crap, they're running and singing. And then they have stable vocals. Like, it's nothing to
That's really cool.
That is really, really cool. Yeah, that's one of the fun facts I learned about it when I fell into the rabbit hole. But yeah, because of that, and then their rendition of iKON's Rhythm Talk, I mean, that kind of pinned, like, saying, oh, this is Ateez. So I kind of knew of them. I know Jung-ho because of the great vocals he had, as we saw from Love Poem. So, but then fast forward now, right? I'm not into them at the time. Like, I'm not buying albums. Like, I don't know nothing about that. I don't know what song they had at that time. But anyways, let's fast forward to, as I will mention again, my wedding year. I love my wedding so much. But anyway, so I think it was maybe towards the end of 2022, Ateez came out with Gorilla. Now, I only knew Gorilla because my kiddo was watching it and they were like, oh, hey, have you heard about this group called Ateez? And I was like, I know of them. I know they've been around for a while. Don't know nothing about them. And then my kid was like, yeah, they came up with this song called Gorilla. It's really cool because it has kind of like that punk rock type thing, a little bit of screamo from Hunjun. I looked at it, I listened to it, I was like, it's pretty good. I would say it's a lot better, in my opinion, at the time, than Wonderland and Say the Name. So I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. I added to my playlist. I'll listen to it every once in a while. I'm not skipping it, so it left a little bit of impact to it. But then there's this one day, it was kind of busy at work at I own a restaurant, so it was pretty busy at work. But then there was like this little break, when after you have the rush, you kind of like slow down a little bit, you get a bathroom break, water break, whatever. I see my husband leaving to the back. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna do my own thing, whatever, make sure my servers are good. And then when he came back out, he was on the phone. And I was like, who are you on the phone with? I want to be nosy. I'm your wife now. Tell me. Or fiance still. But, I want to know. Let me know. And he was like, oh, hey, do you want to go see Ateez tomorrow? And I was like, Ateez? He was like, yeah. One of our customers' secretary just called us up and they're offering free Ateez tickets. And at the time, I was like, this is kind of like the busy month of the restaurant, and I was afraid of leaving the restaurant alone. I don't like last minute plans. Like, as we mentioned many times, I plan things ahead. You're telling me I get to go to a free K-pop concert no matter who it is, and you're telling me I need to go tomorrow and I had to change my schedule? I didn't like that at all. But my server, her name is Nicole. She is, I wouldn't say huge Ateez fan because she's a big stay. She loves Stray Kids through and through. But she does know Ateez enough to where she got so excited because she overheard it. And my husband was saying like, oh, you can go with our kid invite Annie, my cousin-in-law. Nicole can go too. Billy, my brother-in-law, can also go as well. Like, he was listing people because they gave us, I believe, 6 to 8 tickets for free, which was very generous of them. And then so Nicole's like, oh my God, we get to go see Ateez? It's tomorrow, isn't it? It's tomorrow. They're touring right now. They have this and this and this. And I'm just like, I don't know nothing about them. And my husband said, don't worry about it. I'll run the restaurant. Tomorrow is like a Tuesday or a Wednesday. It's fine. Like, it's going to be a slow day. Me and Joe, the other server, can handle it just fine. Heck, if I have to call in Carrie, my sister, in, I'll call her in. Don't worry about it. Have fun at this concert. And I was like, okay. My type A is going no, but my mouth is saying yes. So then we go to the concert, and I was talking to my cousin-in-law, Annie, and I was like, hey, have you ever heard of Ateez? And she was like, I know Gorilla. And I was just like, I think we all know Gorilla. I don't know anything else about them. And a little backstory to this too is that we just came from the Blackpink concert. This is Blackpink's last world tour before they quote unquote disbanded or left YG in general. Well, they technically didn't leave YG, but you know, a whole history about that. But anyways, and we went to see Blackpink, and this was going to be Annie's first ever K-pop concert. And you think being your first K-pop concert, it being Blackpink, it should be the best thing ever because Blackpink is huge, right?
Right.
The girls are great. Their songs are really good. How we managed to even get these tickets is amazing on its own. So it was gonna be me, Annie, my brother-in-law, and my kid going to see Blackpink. And this is nosebleeds tickets, but I mean, we're still happy to be going either way. But when we got there, I think this is only because I don't want to blame the girls. I think this is only because Dallas was the first stop of their tour and it felt rush. I hate saying that, but it seemed like all they did was song, talk, song, talk. Like, they're just like going through it super, super fast. And they're not having, the usual fun that groups would do. They take their
Right.
time, do a little bit of fan service. And I think it's only because I gave them a little bit of grace for it. I think it's because it's their first day, right, of the tour. They're trying to get through the logistics of it, right? And then maybe organizers too. They just want to make sure they're not going past the time and that sort of thing. But I did hear their day 2 in Dallas was a lot better, and that's the one that Annie's husband, my husband, and our server Joe went to because they're huge Blinks, and they got to meet the girls. They were still starstruck about it and super happy about it. Let them have that moment. But anyways, so because of that, Annie was somewhat disappointed, and I hate that was her first K-pop concert experience of it too. She still enjoyed it. We still enjoyed all the songs. The girls are very, they're great, singing and everything and performing, but it's not that it factor that K-pop concerts would always have. So I figured that, well, maybe this Ateez concert, however it goes, right? Maybe this will change her mind a little bit. I don't know how Ateez is in concert, but I just assume, I was just like jokingly saying like, well, it's a boy group, they'll probably take off their shirts or something. I don't know. And boy, was I right.
You're making it sound like our expectations and our standards are very, very low when it comes to music.
Oh, no. No, I just think that it's to kind of make up for it. So I was like, well, Annie, let this be a second K-pop concert experience, and hopefully it's better than Blackpink, because it was missing that it factor, and I don't want that concert to demolish all her expectations for the future K-pop concerts that we could be going to together, right? As she is still here in the DFW before she leaves, because her husband is in the military, so they're looking to station somewhere else in the next year or two, I think. So, but anyway, so we got to the concert, it's super crowded, all these things, and oh my God, I think this is one of the few concerts where I go in knowing absolutely nothing about anything about the group. I know a couple of songs and just fell in love with them to the point where like TJ said, my top music went from like, it's like 17, BTS, Stray Kids, Taylor Swift, whatever, and somehow Ateez made all the way to top 5 in a span of 2 months. It was so good. Fan service was great. The crowd was amazing. This is when, Gorilla came out. So this is the first ever they did that break that wall thing, and everyone in that arena just went all out for that. I definitely saw some abs. That was a lot. Mingy did a lot too, and that's my bias now. He ruined me. I became a single woman that night.
Damn.
It was so bad. Me and Annie, obviously both married, we were like threatening with our reins. We're just like, we're gonna be single tonight. And then,
just wait. In a future episode, Kevin and Annie's husband, Patrick, will be on the show. And they'll be like, oh, remember when you said this?
Oh no. I'll be like, it's okay. You gotta get to see Kiss of Life and Blackpink. But anyways, but yeah, so I think this kind of changed, at least for Annie, how K-pop concerts are supposed to be. And this changed my view of Ateez in general. Like, this is how K-pop concerts for boy groups in general, how it should be. They were so great. Their stage presence is amazing. They had so much fun with it. You don't see any stress whatsoever. They're just having a grand time. So I added a bunch of songs. I like went through their set list. I found their set list online, and I just added like song after song after song after song. It was so good. And yeah, and then now fast forward to recently, right? They came out with the Golden Hour Part 1. Again, I said I was not going to collect any more albums of new groups. And here I am buying like 4 versions of Golden Hour. And then when Hello 82 came out with those pop-up announcements to different cities, again, I'm not the type of person who would wait in line for merch unless it's during concert day. I waited in that line to get into that Hello 82 pop-up, man, just for some exclusive albums, hoping for an autograph, all these things. I even messaged TJ. I was like, hey, do you want something from this pop-up?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I know. I made a whole afternoon with my kid. We waited in line. We had a blast. We met a lot of 18s. Everyone was super friendly. It was super fun. And then now it's like, it's crazy to think about it too, because also Annie, with the past tour they had and they came to Arlington, Annie got to go see Ateez again. And what's really cool is that her husband's the one that surprised her tickets with it, because she just happened to mention like, oh yeah, I saw Ateez last time. It was super fun. They're super great. I'm into them now. And her husband's like, say less. Here's a ticket. Have fun. I'll watch the kids at home.
Very nice.
Yeah, and then as you can see in the YouTube video, we have our jerseys that Annie was so nice to get us, because we were in LA for KCON and we did go to see the Hello 82 storefront in LA. Obviously, all the merch was sold out. And I was talking to Annie about it. I was like, I'm so sad. I can't get any jerseys. And Annie said, say less. I'm at the pop-up in Louisville. Which jersey you want? But yeah, it's crazy to think, as TJ said, that we absolutely know nothing about this group. We gave them a little bit of try. We know of them. And now we're just standing them so hard that we got albums, merch, that sort of thing. I mean, heck, why would I even go out of my way and get these little Ateez animal plushies, right? I even bought, if you guys are watching a YouTube video, I'm so sorry, I forgot her name. I think it's Max Create on Etsy or on Instagram. She made these like Miffy Ateez little stickers.
Oh, those are cute.
It's Minky Wonka. It's so adorable. This is like the bouncy one with the chili pepper. Again, it takes a lot for me to buy merch from a K-pop group where I'm willing to spend money, because I am an enabler. I will admit that. I am an enabler to all my friends. But if you were if I were to buy merch, I would have to validate it in a sense. Like, I have to love this group so, so much that I'm willing to spend money to support the artist, but also support artists in general of like them doing like fan art, that sort of thing, you know? It says a lot of it. But yeah, so that is my crazy journey of it, all because of one concert.
Right. And the kind of cool thing, and it's, I'm real picky when it comes to groups, as Anne has known since, Wonder Girls.
Yeah.
But if there's I will say to anyone who's listening or watching, if there's a group that you're really kind of iffy about, watch them perform live, because that can make a complete difference.
I definitely agree with that.
Like, one of the things that I always mention is, before we went and saw Red Velvet, I absolutely hated the song Power Up.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
again, it's bubbly, it's cutesy, it's not my Red Velvet.
Right.
Because when I got into Red Velvet, I think their first comeback was really Bad Boy. I think that was the first comeback they had when I finally got into them. And if you listen to that song versus Power Up, those are two completely different vibes.
Right. Yeah.
But when I got to see them live as my first K-pop concert in Grand Prairie, and got to see them perform that, yes, it's still bubblegum, it's all that. I think they had Girl Scout uniforms on when they were performing it.
Yeah. Yeah. They had the sash and everything.
Yeah. Just but being able to see them actually do it live, it was like, okay, maybe this isn't as bad as what I thought.
Yeah, and I also want to give credit to also fans in general, because I remember hearing that song, and that first row in the very front, those lines of fanboys, they were doing the dance along with the girls. That was really cute. So I think that kind of grew my love to it. It's like, I think the best example I could give is that when we went to see, well, we didn't see it together, but we were at the Monster X concert in Fort Worth. I remember because there's some B-sides of Monster X I don't really listen to, not like TJ does. I think this is when they were towards the end of the concert, they were doing Fallen, and they were like just being dorks all around. I never heard their song before, but the fact that Monster X performed Fallen and how they performed it makes me love the song, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's one thing to listen to it in your car, in your earphones, that sort of thing, but then you see it live, it changed your whole perspective of it because you see how they're performing it.
Yeah, exactly. For me, with Monster X, it was Zone for me, from the Fantasia album, which, I'd heard the song, but it's completely different when you see these five guys in their encore making every single person jump up and down in that stadium.
Oh, yeah. Spraying water everywhere, too.
Spraying water everywhere. And if you guys have had the pleasure to go to Dickies Arena, which is a great place to go see concerts, that stadium, I think, holds 15,000 people.
I think so, around that time. Yeah.
Because I remember that when we saw Stray Kids, Felix asked them to turn the house lights on, and he was surprised at how many people were in that stadium.
Oh, yeah. And people were also filled up all the way up to the top, like nosebleed seats, like very top, right up against the wall.
And still, Monster X had all of us jumping up and down with them to, again, a B-side that a lot of Mon Babies probably hadn't even heard.
Yeah, exactly.
But to tie back to the point, because, we do how we do. I'm not saying go out of your way and spend hundreds of dollars to go see a group that you may or may not like.
Oh, yeah, no.
But watch things like The Killing Voice, Studio Choom, or like we did with Kingdom, watch those performances. And if you get the opportunity and there's a group that you're on the fence about and they do come to your town, nosebleeds aren't always a bad option. Get the cheap seats. But remember that most arenas are going to have like the TV screens and everything. But, kind of like with Anne's story, just being able to see a live performance can completely change your perspective on a single group.
Yeah, definitely. And then seeing how members in general, how they act towards fans during their talking mint, I mean, it helps too. You see their color, you see their personality, how they act between other members, they make it fun. They really do make it fun. So, and that kind of helps you get into the group just a little bit more because they're trying to be personable as well. So,
again, think about Anne first seeing them on Show Tribute with Jesse.
Oh yeah, no. All I see is, as TJ would say, the hot one. And I'm like, yep, that's the hot one right there. If y'all don't know, it's San.
Yes, I am a San baby. Santini? I don't know. I'm just gonna say baby because that's what Monster X puts at the end of all their stuff. So we'll just go with that.
Or make out of own terms.
Again, brain old, can't remember so many terms.
Yeah, so that is our episode of the Ateez rabbit hole. I mean, it's a long journey for both of us. And I'm really glad to be part of this community too, because I've gone to a lot of cup sleeve events here in the Dallas area for Ateez, like members' birthdays or just like trading, like PC trading events.
Right.
Everyone is so welcoming. They're so friendly, which is so great. I even met a mom and daughter duo who, like, the mom said too, oh, my daughter was super into Ateez and now I'm into it as well. I love that too. So it's really, really cute.
Right. I unfortunately have not had that pleasure because San Antonio is really bad about cup sleeve events that aren't BTS or Blackpink related. So
they need to get on that seriously. They really need to do better on that because K-pop has become more and more global. We can definitely see it now that it's definitely a global thing. They're even on the American Music Awards. Has anyone catch that Stray Kids with NSYNC? I cried. I cried.
Which doesn't say it's good or bad because Anne cries at everything, but still.
Let this be known, at this time of recording, 17 just had their first day concert in Korea, and I cried over because Johan was there. And I don't even like Johan like that.
You guys just wait until we get around to doing the fun stuff like BAP and all that, and Anne just sobbing the entire time.
I mean, I already sobbed over Beast. Just saying. Yeah, so that's a wrap for another episode of Wonderful Beauty.
We hope you enjoyed our Ateez ramblings as much as we enjoyed sharing them.
Yeah, and don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, like how'd you get into Ateez, who's your bias, what's your favorite moment with Ateez, what's your favorite song? I would love to hear more B-sides. I only know their title track so far, so.
Yeah, definitely share us your journey because, we highly doubt we're the only two people out there who have had this weird journey as far as getting into this group. That also, let us know if, until you learn names, everyone in the group was just known as the hot one.
Yep, because that was me.
That was me too. But of course, keep streaming your favorite K-pop group, guys, and have a great day.
흥건해진 밤이 보내길 봐 우리 뿌린 party 걸리적거리는 윗도린 다리에 이 본능은 설레 나란 보는 설레 Let's get down with me 이거는 네거 맘대로만 봐 with it 난 흥이 좋지 실수들게 오늘 밤에서 평생 네 오지